So welcome to E.T. Templar Talks History. You know who I am, E.T. Templar, alien crusader from beyond the heavens, here to entertain and destroy through the power of me magic. So in this video, I'm talking about the first ever recorded night raid and or assassination, depending on opinion. So there's two armies that meet at the Vale of Sadim. It's like a salt flat valley with slime pits. And there's the two factions are, this isn't biblical, but I just read this and made it anyways. So there's the Empire, which has Amraphel of Shinur. It has Arioch of Elizar, and Chedorlaomer of Elam, and Tidal, King of Nations. Now, isn't that a badass name? Tidal, King of Nations. And they're like the Empire. They're like a coalition of groups, and there's these rebels that did side and that were with Chedorlaomer, but decided to resist and rebel. And that is Bera of Sodom, Bisha of Gomorrah, Shinab of Admah, and Shember of Zeboim, and Begla of Zohar. I'm butchering these names, okay? So don't give me any shit. So basically, what's the result of this battle? It's an unmitigated slaughter for the Empire. I imagine that the rebels had the numbers and maybe underestimated the Empire and charged into the Vale of Sadim. They got bogged down in the slime pits, and they got separated. You know, elements of the army got separated. And Chedorlaomer seized the advantage and attacked the stalled, separated, and entrapped and destroyed them one by one. And of course, there were some survivors. Some of them fled to the mountains. And of course, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, they just ran off while everyone, the people they were supposed to command, got slaughtered in slime pits or barely escaped. So Chedorlaomer makes a mistake, and he takes Lot, Abraham's brother's son, Abraham's nephew, near Sodom, because he was living near Sodom. And I'll read some verses of Genesis here. And let's see. And then anyways. And they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abraham. So these were people who were sided with Abraham, or a part of Abraham's side. And they were kind of neutral until Chedorlaomer screwed up and took his nephew. And we're getting to some epic here. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his own house, 318, and pursued them into Dan. So he takes 300 of essentially, slaves and or people who lived with him. And he divided himself against them, and he and his servants by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And so I think it's believed that this is where Chedorlaomer was either killed in the combat or died in the resulting night raid. And that's Genesis 14. You can read that yourself. And yeah, that's the first ever case of a night raid and or assassination. Now, of course, there's also another little nugget of knowledge and wisdom to this story, and is don't kidnap people's family, especially if they have nothing to do with the other side you're fighting, right? Because Chedorlaomer was fighting these rebels, whereas Lot, Abraham's nephew, was just hanging out there, and he decided to take him And then Abraham was like, you know what? You take my family, you take my shit. Well, guess what, dude? And that was the end of Cheddarlaomer. I just never mentioned past there because I think he was slain. So hopefully you found that story interesting and my interpretation, my kind of weird look at it. Drop a like, drop a dislike, subscribe if you haven't already, and chime in the comments below if you so wish. But technically, that was, according to Bible, it was like thousands of years ago. So, probably the first case ever of a night raid and or assassination. Of course, within the written Bible, of course. Because there's some of you that may question the authenticity, and that's your freedom of speech to do so. Just don't kindly do it in my comments because I'm not really going to give a shit about your opinion. You can give it though. But see you next time. Have a good day. Hopefully you found something interesting about this video or learned something new, and or if you want to read this yourself, Genesis 14. Very interesting stuff.